This is something that I have to do. As a mortal living in this world.
Alright guys, we're back with another Dokkan video. We're taking the new Carnival, our Sword of Hope Trunks in against Cell Max. It would have been against the Mega Shenron, but I'm not going to spoil nothing. You can potentially see that video tomorrow once I've managed to do it and edit it together. You can see the struggle. You can see the struggle. We have also got Mai with us, giving us some support, so we've got a bit of extra defense. I thought it would be useful considering, of course, she can dodge. No one's sealing her, that way she can super attack, get her 70% chance, along with having a full dodge build. Not to mention as well, Cell Max is doing 300k on a basic, but the thing that scares me the most with this guy is the fact that Cell Max can super attack multiple times, 600k each, and Trunks is going to need a few turns to stack up a bit to make sure he has enough defense to contend with that, because he doesn't have any other help. So he is starting with 218k defense right now. Super attack wise, if he does get his additionals, or even one, actually maybe one stack and 10% damage reduction, I think a basic won't hurt him. I think he's fine immediately with the Mai support. It's the super attack which is a little bit concerning. So right now I'm playing the battle between, do I take my chances with the 70% from the entrance animation and the 50% from being in slot 2 or 3? And then how much additional do we have from orbs? Skill orbs? 8 additional from the potential system, or do I pop a Whis just to be safe? I think realistically this is what you're going to have to do with Sword of Hope Trunks. You're going to need to use a Whis in the very beginning to kind of cover him. You're going to need to be very, very careful. Even more so than like Tech Trunks once he goes into Super Saiyan, because he's very risky there. But of course, the amount he can stack, especially by 50% each time. 10 mil with the support though, I'll take all that damage. Hopefully we do get some additionals so we can do some damage. A crit here, even though it's unlikely, will be great. 5 milli! And there's an additional, great. So that means we do have 20% damage reduction, a stack, and a 30% defense raise for the turn. We got a third, we got the full-blown damage reduction, a stack, 2 30% defense raises for the turn. Even if he was to be super attacked, alright, we're getting the full-blown 4. We got the full shebang going on. Okay, if he was to be super attacked now, he tanks it. He tanks it. Alright, we're going to find out how much he tanks. But he tanks this. He tanks this. Yeah, no damage. Even without the Whis, I think maybe he would take a little bit of damage there naturally, because 30% is only going to do so much, but full 30% damage reduction, 4 30%, of course one of them is stacking. Can you dodge that please? No, really? You dodge the basics, but you don't want to dodge the super attack? What's wrong with you, Mai? I mean, Future Gohan's got his damage reduction, so there's that. There's that, I guess. Yeah, do you know what? I mean, we'll leave God Goku here, because then we can freely stack up Birdku. But yeah, you're definitely going to need to be watchful of Carnival, our Sword of Hope Trunks in the very beginning, because he just has mainly his defense to rely on. And especially at 55%, and even with dupes, but more so at 55%, sometimes those additional supers won't trigger. You will see that in the Mega Shenron video, hopefully that goes up tomorrow. Sometimes they just don't trigger, and you miss out on damage reduction, even though it's not a lot, but you miss out on it. It does make a difference. You miss out on 30% defense for the turn, whether that's 1, 2, 3 more times. And for the most part, this Trunks only has his stats that he's stacking on his defense to rely on. Until, of course, he goes into standby, where he's defensively amazing, by the way. Like, I love his standby. But before that, if Trunks is deciding to be inconsistent, if RNG isn't in your favor, it can get a little techie for him. As I said, a similar thing can be said for Easy A Tech Transform in Trunks. The only difference is, because he can stack multiple times, whereas Trunks has the same amount of built-in additionals, or nearabouts, but you only get to stack once. Which is why one of my biggest things I would have loved this Trunks to have is being able to stack both on 18 and 12 key. To kind of make up that difference. Make up for the fact that he doesn't have some coverage. Like, for example, LR, Vegeta, and Trunks need to stack, right? They need to stack. They only do it on 18 key, but you guard as long as they're in slot 1. You guard for as long as their entrance animation. If Trunks had something to cover him for a few turns, entrance animation or just standard passive, it would help. If he could stack on both 12 and 18 key like Easy Attack Trunks, it would help if he's just going to rely on pure stats. Because he doesn't have any of that, he's a bit of a flight risk majority of the time until he gets going. So we're up to almost 400k defense right now. We are getting some future Gohan support as well. Lucky enough, a lot of the categories you can go on like have some very good units that contain support. My LR Bulma, who haven't Dokkan awakened yet, don't really have a lead for her either, but we've got her for whenever we get one. I mean, I could get 23rd World Tournament Goku with coins. You know, they have a slot 1 unit. In fact, they kind of have 2 with future Gohan as well. But, you know, good support of Easy A, future Gohan. There's LR Bulma. There's some very good units that kind of help him out, which it does make a difference, giving some extra defense while he is stacking, but just solely relying on one outlet to stack, and that's where all of his defense comes from. It makes him very risky majority of the time. Like right now, we're not getting the additional supers, so we're not getting the extra damage reduction. We're not also getting the 30% defense raise. Lucky enough, potential system's kicking off right now. We only have 8 additional, and it's popping for us. So we have 20% damage reduction. We're also being supered. Lucky enough, we have type advantage. So 2 30% defenses, double digits, of course. That's good. But the type advantage played a big role there. And don't forget, he's also getting support from this future Gohan as well. So lucky enough for him, he does have quite a few units that can support him. But at the same time, what I'm kind of getting already before I've even taken him in against some of the harder ones like Omega and Cell Max, from what I'm seeing and also the showcase, I think, even though this can be said for a lot of units in the game, don't get me wrong, but majority of units in the game, you know, they can be caught here and there. But the important part is here and there. You know, some of the best units in the game need to build up. They need to build up a passive. They need to stack. Once they stack a little bit, they're fine. They're fine. They may take a little bit of damage after that, but you're never getting one-shotted. You know, you never have to worry about them. You know, if we compare a very similar unit in Easy A Tech Transforming Trunks, you know, very similar almost down to the T. Yes, when he first goes Super Saiyan, before he gets to stack defense, he can be a little bit risky. Things can get a little bit techie. But because of how quickly he can stack, it kind of makes up for that. So there's that. But, you know, a lot of the newer units, new Easy A's, new Dokkan Fest, Carnival LRs, whatever it may be, as long as they're finished building up or, you know, they get to where they need to get to, they're fine. Okay? And it's usually relatively a decent pace. But at 55%, they should be fine. Yeah, the dupes will help out quite a bit, but for the most part, they're pretty much okay at 55%. Yeah, they may take a bit more damage here, but never really, again, where you're going to have to be concerned or they're going to get one shot. I don't think, at least at 55% anyway, I don't think the same can be said for Trunks. We do have his standby, which we're going to pop because Cell's almost dead. 436k defense. Basics, we're fine. Super attacks are still going to hurt him a little bit. Don't forget, 600k. But let's pop the active skill.
Fought to protect everyone and survive with everyone's help. We work together and survive. That's what it means to be mortal! Quickly, Vegeta! Us too!
Right, active skill is popped, but as I was saying, like, I really do feel like a lot of the tough enemies in the game are gonna mollywop Trunks. Now, I know a lot of units can be caught, but majority of them, like new units, brand new units, they could get caught while they're building up. Normal. They may not die, some of them may do, but once they're done, once they're finished building up, they're good. They might take 200, 300k, but they're not going to get you one shot. With an item active, they're probably not getting hurt by any enemy in the game. Trunks with an item active in base will survive, still take a chunk of damage. Without that item active, I think majority of enemies, if not almost all of them, if they super him at any point, Apart from if you're like multiple turns deep and Trunks has like, you know, 800k plus defense, a mil plus actually no, it's got to be more than that, like a mil plus defense, which will take him a bit of time to do because you only stack again on 18 key and it's only 30%. So it's not like tech transforming Trunks where you can get there relatively quickly by like turn 7 or 9 if the additionals are popping. I think the majority of the enemies in the game can one-shot, if not borderline one-shot Trunks, especially at 55%, which, as the brand spanking new Carnival are, I don't think should be the case. Now, I'm not saying he's terrible, he's a decent unit, he's fun to use, he can be good, and he can get going. But if he's gonna take some time to get going, he needs something to help him get there, where not every single enemy in the game could probably absolutely melt him. That's my only issue. But now we're in the standby. Of course, we put him in slot 1, he's gonna have the guard. We also have the 1 turn 50% damage reduction. You know, we put him in slot 1, nothing in the game is going to kill him during standby. 50% damage reduction, his defense at this point is 349k, which isn't a lot, because we haven't had time to stack that much, but 50% damage reduction with almost 350k defense and guard, nothing will hurt him in the game, which is great. But you're only in this for 4 turns. What about the rest? Or once if you still have the rest of the fight to go and, you know, you're going to have to transform back. I would have put him in slot 1, but I'm going to leave Vegeta and Trunks there. I'm pretty sure they don't have their entrance animation anymore, so I'm going to leave them in slot 1. If Trunks was there, as I said, without a doubt, this would have been, to be fair, they tanked it for 29k with type disadvantage, but that would have been nothing. Any enemy in the game while Trunks is in standby goes in slot 1 with that 1 turn guard, 1 turn 50% damage reduction and the guard that he gets in slot 1. No enemy in the game is going to hurt Trunks. Doesn't matter how much they do on a super, which is great. But again, you're only in this form for 4 turns. So obviously you usually want to use the standby as quick as possible or when you really need it. I'm thinking with Trunks, maybe you keep his standby for as long as possible for when you either really need it or potentially when you get to the hardest part of the event, which is kind of when you really need it. But then you also have to get there. So, I mean, I don't think we got him that many. Actually, did we not get him that many keys? Did we not get him? We must have not got him 5 keys for this because he didn't get the guaranteed additional, which is a shame. But that's generally kind of my honest opinion from Trunks from so far from how I've used him. And these are like the easier, harder enemies in the game. But I don't think when a unit drops, like the brand new unit, whether that's a Dokkan Fest, Carnival, or I don't think they should release and immediately they need a dupe. And I feel Trunks needs that. Trunks needs the help from some extra stats. It would help him. A lot of units benefit from a dupe. But you don't need to get that day 1. That's something you can wait to get. But Trunks, I feel like would benefit a lot from a dupe and probably needs it now. And he's only just dropped, and that shouldn't be the case. But at least during his standby, as I said, he's very good. I really do like his standby a hell of a lot. Like, it's really good. Especially that 50% damage reduction. You don't have to rely on getting any additionals to make sure you get it. You just have 50% damage reduction for a turn. Even though he only has it for a turn, you put him in slot 1, he has guard. Which is great. That's what you want from a slot 1 unit. But of course, for that 1 turn where he has the 50% damage reduction, the guard in slot 1, he's untouchable. You know, you have a guaranteed additional with 5 or more key spheres. He's his own rainbow orb changer. That's great. He continues to have the same SA effects while also in, you know, the standby, which means he gets to keep stacking, which obviously you kind of have, not free, but you have a lot of coverage while in standby to stack him without him being a risk, without him being caught. So if he had some of this coverage or similar-ish, or just some type of coverage in his base or before he uses his standby, it would help him a lot. But at least you kind of get to stack him up with little risk while in the standby. And it's very easy to get the finish skill as well, which is another good thing. But the standby is great. I love the standby. The standby is really good. It's just the base is incredibly inconsistent. Especially at 55% when you're really relying on those additional supers happening. So you can get the extra damage reduction. so you can get the extra 30% defense raises on 12 key for the turn. Like, it's needed. So we could pop this right now. So he's up to almost 500k defense. We've also got my support. And does he kill here? I mean, surely he does. I mean, of course, the longer you want to take with it, it's fine, because you can literally, like, keep building it up per charge count. But the fact you can use it so quickly is also very nice. I'm going to use it just because if he doesn't die, he doesn't die, but I'm going to use it.
I won't let you win! I'll never let you destroy our will to live!
7.3, good amount of damage, but Cell is indeed still alive. 622k now that we're back in base with the support, which is decent. But as we're about to end the event, Trunks has only just got enough damage. Sorry, not damage. Only just got enough defense to be able to tank Cell Max's super. Which isn't bad, but think about Red Zone and Shadow Dragon event. I mean, Shadow Dragon event is a little bit longer than Red Zone. But like, most of the difficult content are going to be in like turn 9 max. So Trunks would have, what, 700k defense at this point, or just under? Which super attack wise isn't enough to compete with most of the enemies in the game without an item active, which is fine because I'm not against items. I've never been against items. You know, they're part of the game. You can use them. That's fine. But a lot of the new units, they only need items against specific moments where maybe the run isn't going so well, or it's near the beginning and they're building up, or have type disadvantage, something like that, very specific, or you're facing one of the hardest hitting phases and maybe you don't have a lot of health or something like that. But for the most part, a lot of enemies in the game for the top brand new units don't get completely shredded 95% of the time, and I unfortunately feel like that is the case for Trunks. Again, especially at 55%, which of course is what I have him at. For those of you who have dupes for him at Rainbow, let me know how you're finding him, but the amount of damage he can do is great. I kind of wish he had like crit somewhere built in as well, so those additionals can really do some damage. And then maybe him not being the best defensively wouldn't be too bad because the enemy would be dead by the time before it matters. But I feel like he's a little bit lacking. I feel like if he stacked on both 12 and 18 key, it would make a massive difference. Or maybe if he had some extra damage reduction in his passive, like 20-30% at the start of turn, and then got the extra 30% from doing attacks, maybe that could have worked better. But I feel like defensively, he's a little lacking for like a brand new Carnival LR, like the brand new big unit. But I said, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll see you next video, guys. Take care, have a good rest of your day, and peace.